What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rum Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We got it all going on today. We got college football. We got UFC. The co-main event. Main event is happening, but who really cares, Glock? Let's be honest. We got CFB going. We got MLB tonight to talk about. We got it all over here at Rum Pure Sports. We got a holiday weekend, NFL around the corner. I mean, we got it all. Glock, let's bring in. How are you doing on this Saturday?
Going good, man. MMA obviously locked earlier today, so I've been watching that, digging into tonight's MLB slate. I don't know, is today our last MLB Saturday show because we have the NFL shows going forward, going next Saturday? Do you know?
I'm 99% sure, but you never know. I believe that's the case, though. We'll have a lot of NFL stuff coming your guys' way. We'll have all the shows that you guys need. Also, we'll have MLB shows. Don't you worry. We'll have one on Labor Day. We'll have it all for you guys. So be sure to check all that out. If you haven't checked out the NFL stuff that we got going on, we got a content release show that is on the YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, like this video, please. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when all of our shows go live. Because again, we got a ton of NFL shows coming your guys' way, so you do not want to miss out on that. Use that code NFL15, get you 15% off your monthly payments, and that includes SaberSim. Now, it doesn't include SaberSim as an add-on for free. It includes, hey, SaberSim is part of the deal that you're getting, which, hey, that's partially with our partners where they're allowing to say, hey, we'll give you the 15% off of that as well. So that's kind of some of the details I wanted to give you guys. But let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit of baseball, Glock. And I don't know if we'll be on here the whole hour because I think we can breeze through pitching kind of quick. And the reason why I think we can is I just think there's some really good options at the top. Yeah, there's some guys at the bottom I guess you can make arguments for, but I would keep it simple. Max Scherzer, 10-9 against Washington. Hard to argue here. Corbin Burns against Arizona, even though Arizona has been red hot. He's another one I like. Ohtani is always in play, but he is going against Houston. Slightly concerning. We know the Robbie Ray experience. If you want to ride it, it's here tonight, 9.8K. Do think he's got some upside, obviously. Strikeout is a little low, though. His prop is 5.5 today, so I thought that was intriguing. You got Dylan Cease against Minnesota. We know how Minnesota can be. Let me tell you, if I open up the BigT player pool or DC's pool and I see them on Minnesota, I'm going the other way for sure because that's just what happens here for me. That's been my new bit lately, and it's gone okay. It hasn't been too bad to me. Treated me well. And then there's Adam Wainwright against Chicago. That's the really cheap one. But before we get to Adam Wainwright and all those other guys, let's talk about these top-end arms. Glock, how are you handling these guys up top?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this list. I mean, you just have tons and tons of elite options, right? You just go down the list. I feel like some of the guys you mentioned, you can easily cross off or maybe consider for tournaments, but I don't think they'll be in my player pool. That starts with Robbie Ray versus Cleveland. Cleveland hardly ever strikes out and are super pesky. So I don't think on this big slate, I don't think I'm going to be forcing him in against Cleveland. And then you go to Corbin Burns. You look at his last 3 games, 8.1, 1.5, and 18 fantasy points. Granted, 2 of those games were against the Dodgers, and the latest one was against Pittsburgh, and he still struggled, which I didn't like. So I'll probably be off of him. Just looking at his ownership, it looks like he's going to be owned too. So Arizona has also been swinging a hot bat. I know you've been on them somewhat as of late. So that kind of steers me away from those 2 guys. And so basically in the top tier, that leaves me Max Scherzer, Shohei Ohtani, and Dylan Cease, in the upper tier, who I absolutely love, right? We'll start with Max Scherzer at 10.9K. Definitely one of the top options on tonight's slate, and he's probably going to be the highest owned pitcher for sure. But he gets the Nationals team that, we're not really scared of anyone in the lineup, right? They've only struck out at the 19th highest rate versus right-hand pitching in the last 2 weeks, but obviously Max can strike out the best of them if he's on, so not too worried about that. Metrics-wise, he has the 4th highest K rate on the slate at 30.6%. He has the lowest walk rate at 4.6%, allows the 4th lowest expected slugging rate at 0.330, and the 4th lowest xWOBA at 0.264. He's also only given up 9 home runs on the year, which is the 2nd lowest on the slate, surprisingly behind Edward Cabrera at 4. So he's a great option. And then you go down, obviously, to Shohei Ohtani, who's $400 cheaper at 10.5K. Obviously, it's a scary matchup on paper against Houston, but when you dig into the numbers, Houston's actually been striking out at the 6th highest rate in the last 2 weeks for right-hand pitching. So that actually brings in Ohtani fully into play for me. I think he's going to come in with lower ownership than Max, so that is definitely a pivot that you can consider. He has the highest K rate on the slate at 34%. the 5th lowest walk rate at 6.4%, allows the 3rd lowest expected slugging rate at 0.329 and the 3rd lowest xFOB at 0.262. Yeah, so those two guys in the 10Ks are amazing. And then obviously Dylan Cease at 9.1K. I think this is a very disrespectful tag for my boy Cease. I mean, first he gets fleeced for the All-Star game, and now he's just getting fleeced in the pricing on DK. So it's very hurtful. But yeah, I mean, I love Cease here. Somehow the Twins have only struck out at the 20th highest rate versus right-hand pitching in the last 2 weeks. But, you know, Cease's upside can match Shohei Ohtani's. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the highest scoring pitcher on tonight's slate. So just to give you some of his metrics, 2nd highest K rate on the slate, allows the lowest expected slugging rate at 0.311 and the lowest xWOB at 0.257. So those are elite metrics at a discount from the other two studs in Max and Shohei. So yeah, definitely love some Cease here for sure.
Yep, thank you. Brought up some really good points. I think the Cease point is good as well. 7.5 strikeout prop for only 9.1K. When Max is at 10.9, Ohtani 10.5 with similar strikeout props. So wanted to mention that. We didn't talk about Julio Urias too much. I mean, he's obviously up here at the top that you could discuss. But Adam Wainwright, he is kind of the cheapie that I think some people are going to. And I think you are going to see a lot of double spend up builds tonight because when you have a lot of good pitchers, Locke, you don't have a lot of great hitting environments and just spots that you want to go to. Also, Austin Voth, I mean, he's in play. Luis Garcia against the Angels, I guess you could say that's in play too, right? So there are some cheap options that you can go to. Even Tyler Mahle, he gets the White Sox, and they've struggled against righties. 8.2K, extreme pitchers umpire in that game. I don't think there's like some bad options down here. Even Drew Smyly, I mean, he projects decently. I just don't think I want to attack the Cardinals in this spot. Don't think it's too necessary for me. But what's your overall takeaway on this bottom range? Because I do think we can't completely ignore it, especially if you do want to grab some bats today on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned it. You hit it on the head, right? I think if you look at the 8K range, I really don't love this range. Obviously, there's only 3 options in the 8Ks, right? I think you can make a case for Urias. He's been pitching super well as of late. I think he's posted 8 straight games with 20 or more fantasy points. So he's been super, super solid. But the San Diego matchup is a bit scary. Obviously, you know, they have the power in that lineup that can, you know, blow anyone up. They haven't done it recently. I think they did pretty well last night, but, you know, we've been stacking them up, you know, kind of often, and it hasn't worked out really well. So I think you can make a case for Urias. I don't think I'm going to get to Tyler Mahle. He's coming off the IL. And then I don't think I'm going to play Edward Cabrera on the road either versus Atlanta. So yeah, that brings me to the 7K and below tier, where I think you mentioned him, Adam Wainwright, right? At 7.8K. He's definitely been a mixed bag, like when you roster him, but tonight he gets a Cubs matchup that I truly am never really afraid to roster a pitcher against. He has like kind of below average metrics, such as, you know, his K rate, it's 19.6%. He allows a 4.409 expected slugging rate and a 0.318 WOBA, but he does have the 4th lowest walk rate at 6.2%. And he's also posted 30 or more fantasy point performances in 2 of his last 4 games. So at this price tag, I think I'm willing to take a shot on him, you know, in hopes that he can deliver, you know, a similar performance to that. I'm not going to say he's going to go out and get you 30 fantasy points tonight, but, you know, at 7.8K, if he gets you north of 20, you'll be pretty happy about that. And then, yeah, you go down $200 cheaper, Luis Garcia. If you look at his game log, he always feels like somewhat of a more safe floor type of play. But I think he has the potential for some upside tonight as he gets that Angels matchup that, you know, I've said I'd literally play anyone against. The Angels have been striking out the highest clip in the league versus right-hand pitching in the last 2 weeks. And then Garcia has an above average K rate at 24.9%. So count me in on some lunch lady in my pool for sure. And then you keep going down the list. It's a bunch of guys I actually want to stack up against. Obviously, we'll go through that later when we go through the offenses. If I had to fully punt on a guy, it would definitely be Austin Voth at 5.2K against the Oakland A's. He's posted 6 straight games in double digits, with 5 of 6 being 15 or more fantasy points. And this A's team is really bad, as we all know. So don't mind some Austin Voth. And then the last guy I think I have in consideration is Bryce Elder. It was Odorizzi originally was going to start, and then he got scratched. So Bryce Elder is going to start for Atlanta tonight. He recently mowed down this Miami team on August 14th, posting 30.2 fantasy points, striking out 10 guys. I don't think he'll do that again, but Miami is another team that I'm not super scared of. And Elder's only 7.6K at home. So I think he's a fine option as well tonight.
All right, a lot of great points that you brought up there, Glock. If you guys could please hit that like, subscribe to the channel, helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. Also, we got a lot of people saying Elder in the chat, so maybe some people are on him against Miami. But hey, it should be an interesting slate. Glock, I guess before we kind of move on, give me your rankings of your top 3 pitchers. I'll go with mine first. I'm going to go Max 1. I'm going to go Burns 2. And then I'm going to go with Adam Wainwright 3, just because I think the point per dollar, the matchup, it just seems too strong not to pass up on. So I think overall, that's kind of my top 3 guys. Give me your top 3 guys and maybe give me a 4th contrarian option for the people as well.
I mean, honestly, in an ideal world, if you didn't have salary constraints, my top 3 would be Max, Shohei, and Cease. And then my favorite cheap guy would be Wainwright. So those would be my top 4. And then I guess, contrarian, it'd probably be Luis Garcia. Just looking at his ownership, he's going to come in, under 10% maybe against an Angels team that, I've rostered like Michael Wacha. You go down the list, I've just rostered them all against the Angels, and it's worked out pretty well. So if you're telling me I can get a little bit of discount at lower ownership for Luis Garcia versus Angels, then count me in on that. I guess he'd be my kind of contrarian starting pitcher option tonight.
All right, let's shift on over to the games. Let's talk about them. But hey, before we do that, guys, again, please like and subscribe to this video. It helps us out a ton over here at Run Beer Sports. And again, got tons of NFL content coming your guys' way, so you do not want to miss out on that. Feel free to check out the schedule release show that we have here. We also got tons of other content coming your guys' way. So again, don't want to miss out on all that. And use that code NFL15, get you 15% off your monthly payments. But Glock, on to the games. Let's talk about the offenses. We got the Orioles going up here against the Oakland A's, and Baltimore, they're in a pretty good spot. Yes, this ballpark is not one I get excited about, but I do think going against Adam Oller is something I'm intrigued by. You got Mullins, you got Adley, Santander, Mountcastle. I mean, Gunnar Henderson, we know what he can do. This is definitely a good spot for Baltimore. Do you think they're a team that you're going to get on today, or maybe you're going a different way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Adam Oller guy is someone I've been stacking against for a while now. He did have a good performance last time out against the Yankees, but still, if you look at his metrics, they are #not good. He has the lowest K rate on the slate at 13.2%, second highest walk rate at 11.2%, allows the third highest expected slugging rate at 0.477 and the third highest xWOB at 0.361. He also allows the second highest exit velocity at 90 miles per hour. So yeah, definitely have interest in the Orioles. It does look like they're going to come with ownership, like maybe top 2 stack potential ownership. But, I think you can mix in tons of the guys, which can easily make you different, right? You obviously don't want to go 1 through 5 with Mullins, Rutschman, Santander, Mountcastle, and Henderson, right? You probably need to mix in bottom of the order guys. Jorge Mateo's batting 9th and is 3.7K at shortstop. I don't know what his ownership will be like, but generally if you mix in 1 or 2 of these bottom of the order guys, Mateo, Rougned Odor, the Stowers guy, 2K in the outfield, if you mix in those guys, you should be just fine. So yeah, definitely interested in the O's. And then yeah, no interest in the A's. I just made a case for Austin Voth being a viable starting pitcher tonight. So no interest in the A's for me.
Definitely guys you can mix in there, Glock, for sure on this Baltimore team. Not guys that I'm Xing out of my pool. Let's go over to the next game. And it's interesting to talk about because it's the Nationals and it's the Mets. And hey, I think the Mets in this spot, they get Patrick Corbin. We know what Patrick Corbin can do. He can throw meatballs across the plate, but you got to pay some elevated price tags. Yes, you can get Darren Ruff at 3.2K, one a big platoon, as we like to call him at times, one of his guys that he likes to roster. You get James McCann, who hasn't hit anything, but I mean, he hits lefties apparently, right? That's the shtick with old James McCann. But Patrick Corbin is a guy that you could definitely go at, right? I mean, this is a spot there. If James McCann can't get the job done today, then I don't know when he's getting the job done this season. That's all I'm going to say. So I think there's a lot of interesting options here, Glock. What are you doing here with the Mets? Are you spending up on them and mixing in some of these value plays?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the offenses, which we'll get into later, have huge expensive bats. You're talking about the Mets, you're talking about the Dodgers, just to name a few, right? St. Louis potentially. These guys are not, cheap when it comes to offense. So when you're talking about your starting pitching build, it may be difficult to, start with a Scherzer and Ohtani. You may have to just pick one of those guys and then dip down into the 7K range or even lower with a Wainwright and then a Voth, right? So it's something to keep in mind for sure on this slate. But yeah, anyone against the Nationals, I'm going to stack against. I don't care who's on the mound. If you read my premium articles, I always list the opposite team that's facing the Nats. And yeah, Patrick Corbin is like the leader of the hashtag not good pitching club for sure. He has the 5th lowest K rate on the slate at 18.7%, allows the highest expected slugging rate at 0.515, the highest exit wOBA at 0.380, and the highest exit velocity at 90.4 miles per hour. He's also given up 24 home runs on the year, which is the most on the slate out of any pitcher. So yeah, full steam ahead for Met stacks for sure. And yeah, you hit it right on the head, right? Their cheapest guy is actually James McCann at 3K in the stack. And I don't know, man, like generally James McCann is usually like 2K, right? So paying 3K for him, I don't know, it's kind of a stretch on this slate, but obviously I think the Mets are in a really good spot here. They should be able to tee off on Patrick Corbin for sure.
Yep, expecting the tee off. I'm typically not like down for a 7 total, but this is definitely the anomaly 7 total, right? Because Max Scherzer and like what he does to the total. So I think it's a different situation, and it's a different kind of slate as well. Let's go over to the next game. From 1-7 total to a 7.5 total, we got the Seattle Mariners and the Cleveland Guardians. And hey, Seattle's not in that ballpark lock. And listen, I don't know if Steph Curry's cousin is very good at baseball. Maybe he is, Mr. Xavier Curry, but the Seattle Mariners have been hitting the ball real well. I don't think this is a bad spot to get on Seattle, especially getting them out of that ballpark. They've been mashing the ball pretty well. And again, I don't know this much about this Curry guy. What about you? Do you think this is a spot where Seattle can maybe keep going overlooked and keep crushing?
Yeah, I do think they're in play as a more like contrarian stack. I don't know though. This is a tough game for me because I feel like I don't need to force this stack in. Obviously, on the Cleveland side, Robbie Ray's a good pitcher, right? I think he might give up a few bombs, but I think he'll be able to minimize the damage and to where you don't want to stack up the Guardians. And then, yeah, like I said, the Seattle stacks do somewhat interest me. I know you've been liking them for sure as of late, so curious like if you have a strong take on them. I just think there are a little bit better spots on this 9-gamer and think like Seattle maybe one of my last cuts like when it comes to like my top 3 offensive stacks tonight. Like, I think they're in my top 5, but if you told me to list top 3, then I'd probably cut them personally.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely like them. I'm going to keep going back to them. I think they're in play. Good option. You get the 9 at bats as well. And, you know, these prices, they feel pretty expensive. And if you go like a Ty France, well, good luck then getting Carlos Santana at 2.5. That's the decision you have to make. They got some bottom of the order guys that can help you out, but Cal Raleigh, he's been on an absolute heater. He's 4K. So it's like not the cheap price tag that you were getting for him in the past. So do you think Seattle gets a little overlooked? Like them here in this spot. Let's go over to this next game. Let's talk about the Cardinals and the Cubs. And I know Drew Smyly doesn't have a bad projection, but if you ever see a lefty on the mound and you see the Cardinals, you're like, okay, let me fire it up, right? Because you got Edman up top. Tyler O'Neill, righty that can hit a ton of power. He's 5.6K. Paul Goldschmidt, 6.5. Arenado, 6.2. Guys can just mash the ball. Albert Winnie the Pujols, as we call him over here after Big T made fun of him a bunch. He's been mashing a ton. He's only 2.5K. Carlson at 4.7. I mean, who wants to pay 4.7 for Carlson in that 6-hole? Then you got Yadier Molina, Paul DeJong, who's always an interesting option at that shortstop position, and then Ben De Luiso. So again, really good spot. I think the Cardinals are a good stack today. Do you think they're getting too much ownership or maybe no ownership? What's your overall breakdown of how you're handling this team? Because this is one that I want to get exposure to. How about you?
Yeah, this is another tough spot for me where I kind of have the same feelings as I do with the Cleveland stack where, you know, I obviously think it's a good spot for St. Louis, but they may just be one of my last cuts. Like we'll get into a spot later that I absolutely love, but yeah, I mean, I think I've just made a case for Wainwright, so no interest in the Cubs for me. And then St. Louis would be the side I stack up offensively. You know, if I did have to pick a side, you know, who's against Drew Smyly. Obviously, there's tons of jokes about Drew Smyly. People don't think he's good at all. But, I mean, you look at his recent performances, right? He's actually been pitching, like, really well. I don't want to be like a game log guy, but you just, like, look at it. 13.9, 22.2, 13, 29.1, 23.4. I mean, he's in good form. And, you know, I just think there are a little better spots on the slate. So I'll probably pass here. But I get it, though, right? I think just like Seattle, I think St. Louis is probably one of my last cuts as well when it comes to offenses. But I get it, like I said.
Yeah, I get it. It's definitely not a bad spot. 4.5 is their team total. And again, this is a slate, like, there's not a lot of high totals. So definitely teams that you got to look at. And we got one that later on we're definitely going to discuss that as a pretty high total. Let's go over this next game. Before we do, though, guys, again, please like and subscribe to this video. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notified when we go live over here. I just hit the like, and we got a lower amount of views today. We're at like 185. We got 69 likes, so let's get those moving there. Hopefully we can get out those plays of the day for you guys. And again, we understand it's a Saturday, less people playing MLB. There's a lot going on, but hey, we appreciate it from you guys hitting that like for us. Let's go over this next game, though. It's a 7.5.
Everyone's out at the bars watching their college teams, man. It's bringing our viewership down.
No, they're all out watching the games. I've seen a bunch of people tweeting out the setups they're watching all the games at and stuff. So we're back in the swing of things over here. It feels like the dog days of summer are kind of gone. So, but hey, let's talk about this next game. 7.5 total. We got the Twins. We got the White Sox, and this is just kind of a brutal game, Glock. I already talked about playing some other lower total games. I don't want to really go to this one because I feel like both sides are pretty fine. So I'm down to move past this one. How about you?
Yeah, game's a fade for me. Definitely no interest in the Twins, with my interest being on Cease. I think he's a great option at pitcher tonight. And then, Molly, he is coming off the IL, but it is a big slate. I don't think we need to force in any White Sox stacks. They've just been super disappointing, and don't feel like you need to push them on this slate.
Yep. Tend to agree with you there. Don't think this is a game that we need to go to. Let's go over to the next one. And we got the Braves and the Marlins. And this game is in Atlanta. Edward Cabrera on the mound. And this Braves team, we know they can get hot. It doesn't seem like a day where the Braves are just getting slammed onto all the lineups. They do have some good values, though, that help make things work. So maybe that steams up the ownership a little bit when you're trying to jam in some of these top-end arms. You kind of need some of these cheaper values. Glock, I've played the Braves a little. I haven't played them as much. I feel like they always miss the last cut. It's like them or the Dodgers, and I go another team. What's your thoughts on the Braves, though, in this spot? I think they're in play today. I don't think they're as chalky as they normally are. So what's your overall takeaway on the Braves?
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because after the Braves played the Rockies and they're playing complete gas cans like Chad Kuhl and stuff, they were just completely struggling. And then, they go up against Sandy Alcantara last night and just blow them up for 8 runs. So it is crazy how baseball works, but that's baseball in a nutshell, right? So, obviously I can't blame you if you want to stack up Atlanta, but I do think Cabrera is good enough to minimize the damage. He's definitely up and down when you look at his game log. But after seeing what the Braves did last night to Sandy, it is hard to argue that we shouldn't stack them up, right? Because, they can go off against any pitcher. I just think that, my point of view on MLB right now is to just target the good teams versus the bad pitchers. And I consider Edward Cabrera not a bad pitcher, right? So I'm going to move on to different spots on this slate. And then, just take my chances.
Yeah, totally get that. Don't think it's a bad idea for sure. Like I said, even though it's not like the greatest day of offense, there are still some good ones to talk about. And we still got one that we're making our way towards. Don't worry, we'll get talking about it. And it's not this 8 total with the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, even though we get Madison Bumgarner on the mound. Madison Bumgarner, he's the guy that we've been attacking lately, but we've also been attacking the Brewers with what? Lefties. So, Glock, what's going to give? Is it a Brewers stack or is it Madison Bumgarner day? Does he turn the clock back here? What do you think happens? Because Arizona is a ballpark that tends to be better for those pitchers. And I know Arizona, we've been talk about them a lot, and now they have to go up against Corbin Burns, so it makes you a little uneasy. What's your overall thoughts here on this game, Bob?
Yeah, I know. I think the past few weeks on the shows, I've just been hammering lefty pitchers versus the Brew Crew. I think it was last weekend or the week before where I got laughed at for suggesting Drew Smyly versus the Brew Crew. But there's differences, right? Drew Smyly is actually in good form, while Bumgarner is not. So I'm going to take the opposite stance here and just have some Brewers interest offensively, right? Bumgarner, metrics-wise, 3rd lowest K rate on the slate at 16.4%, allows the 2nd highest expected slugging rate at 0.489, the 3rd highest xWOB at 0.360, and the 3rd highest exit velocity at 89.9 miles per hour. He's also given up 20 home runs on the year, which is the 3rd most on the slate. So, yeah, he's just another guy that's not been good at all, and I definitely have some Brewers interest here, and I will not follow my rule against lefties versus the Brew Crew for tonight at least. And then no interest in the Arizona side, even though I think Burns, he's not been that good as of late, but I think he'll do just enough to minimize Arizona as a whole and get to a point where you don't want to stack up Arizona.
Yep, totally get it. If it was in better pitching slate, I mean a worse pitching slate block, and like we were trying to make things up, I think the Bumgarner thing would not be the craziest thing in the world. Maybe it's something you do on one of these night slates. I don't know, but I don't think there's one that's that viable for it. Because I'm sure it's a 2-game night slate because they want to give that extra hour for you guys. So probably nothing that we're going to really mess with. Let's shift on over to this next game. 8 total. Luis Garcia, Shohei Ohtani. Seemed like you had interest in both those guys. It is an 8 total. I just don't think I need to attack either. I think it's a good fade spot. How about you?
Yeah, this is a pitching duel for me. Luis Garcia and Shohei Ohtani. I've obviously made my case for them earlier in the show. So I don't think we need to, force anything, especially in this Angels ballpark. I'll just expect a pitching duel here and then move on to the late night hammer, which we'll get into.
All right, late night hammer it is. Let's talk about it. We'll spend some time on it, I'm sure. So let's just discuss. We got the Dodgers. We got the Padres. We got Sean Manaea. And Sean Manaea against these righties that can smash him. And before the show block, you were saying, give me Trace Thompson. And you got your wish. He's in the lineup, so you got him there. Vargas is only 2-4. Barnes 2-8. Chris Taylor 3-3. Justin Turner only 4-5. I mean, the 5 through 9 is pretty cheap. And then that 1 through 4, you can spend on that. It seems like an easy stack to be able to get even with the top end pitchers. What's your thoughts on this game, Glock? Is Trace Thompson the guy you're just going to be slamming on all your lineups to make things work? And how are you handling these guys up top? Because they do have expensive price tags. Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, they are expensive. And if you put all 4 in with the top end pitchers, won't be as easy to work with. So how do you kind of handle that stacking wise?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had some interest in the Dodgers last night, even against Yu Darvish. So I'm definitely going to go back to them tonight against Sean Manaea. I think you guys met him, right? UDC and some other guys. You guys met him at a bar after the game when he played in Coors or something, right?
Yeah, we did meet him at the bar. He was very cool. We tried not to be, we tried to toe the line of not being annoying while he was waiting for his beer and hanging out and not bothering him. So he basically, the conversation I had with him was I asked him about Coors and his thoughts on pitching there. He didn't think it was as big of a deal. He said it's like, is one of his, I think is the 4-seam pitch, like moves a little bit or whatever. The 2-seam, one of them, I forget which one he said, moves a little bit, but not that worried. And I don't know. He hasn't been great since we talked to him. I'll just say that. He's definitely had.
That's been in the back of my head. That's been in the back of my head ever since. I think DT's had to pick with him.
Well, I went to the game, Glock, and I was like, I'm stacking against this dude. I don't think he's that good. And then he went and pitched a gem in Coors, and I was like, oh, great. Like, I feel like an idiot. And then he hasn't been really that good since. So, and I mean, this is the Dodgers. Like, they can hit anyone. So it doesn't really matter if we're being honest. So
yeah,
it's a good spot. Do you think the Dodgers are going to be very owned, though? Like, what's your kind of overall takeaway on how to handle that?
I do think they're going to come with ownership for sure. Just looking at some sites here and there, they are projecting for quite a bit of ownership, but I don't think they'll be the chalk of the slate. Just the way salaries are working out, right? Everyone wants to try to jam in like these top stud pitching options, right? And the Dodgers are kind of hard to get if you want Shohei and Max or like a Cease and Max, right? You're going to have to go down to kind of a more uncomfortable play like a Wainwright and then combine him with a stud, which some people might not want to do, right? So I don't think their ownership can get crazy out of control, which is why I like them a lot tonight. Like I said, I mentioned I was on them last night, so I'm just going to go right back to them. They kind of punted last night's game. I watched it, and Dave Roberts, he pinch hit for Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, top of the 7th, and I think they were only down 7-1 or 6-0 or something like that. And then he was even having Hanser Alberto, position pitch out there when they were only down 7-0. So I felt like they really punted last night's game. And I would hope that tonight they come back in with a better mentality and, look a lot better tonight, right? Sean Manaea, just metrics-wise, he's given up 23 home runs on the year, which is the second most behind Patrick Corbin, which obviously we like Met stacks. He allows the 5th highest expected slugging rate at 0.414. 5th highest xWOBA at 0.317, and the 5th highest exit velocity at 89.4 miles per hour. If you're like a numbers person, like at BigT likes 4.4, this is like 5.55, right? So if 5 is your lucky number, then maybe that's a sign for you to stack up the Dodgers tonight. But yeah, definitely love the Dodgers tonight. You mentioned Trace Thompson. I wish he was in the lineup last night, but he is in it tonight. It's going to be a hero for us. 2.5K in the outfield. They had that Vargas guy at third base at 2.4K, Barnes at 2.8K. And wow, yeah, I actually didn't realize that they had all these cheapies in there. So maybe they will be owned a lot. That now that they have all this value, it's a little bit harder because I don't know. Just looking at the values now, I do think they're going to come with top 3 ownership now. So I may have to reconsider like how I'm going to get exposure to them, but that still makes me like the Dodgers for sure tonight.
Yeah, definitely with you on liking the Dodgers for sure. Good spot for them. It's just hard to ignore them against Mania, right? And it's also, is it still hotter out there too, Glock? I assume it still is.
Oh yeah, let me look it up. Yesterday, LA was in a heat
Yeah, we
advisory.
got the same thing, 93 and then 96 in the other one. So it does seem like it's going to be pretty hot. And hey, the games didn't go crazy last night, but hey, the Padres did put up 7 at least, right? And that is the one thing that can be frustrating for sure about these ballparks sometimes on the West Coast. But hey, late night hammers are fun too. Don't forget about that. But Glock, I don't know. We don't got too much more else to say. We can get those likes. Let's get 9 more as we talk about the stacks. So give us 9 more, and then we'll do that. We'll go through our favorite stacks of this slate, and then we'll try to give out those plays of the day for the people. Before that, though, again, guys, please, like I said, like so we can get the plays up. Subscribe to the channel. Also, want to talk about NFL 15, the promo code that we have going on. Use your code and you get 15% off NFL 15. And that's not just for the football season, right? It's for every single sport. You want to play MMA today, Glock? Go right ahead. I didn't play, but you can play. Certainly fine with that. You want to join me in the college football streets tonight in an hour and a half for some late night football? I'm there. Check out my cores on the site. Bruce got the playbook up. We got all the sports for one price, so be sure to sign up and check it all out. But Glock, give me your top stacks. Who do you got?
Yeah, my top 3 stacks are going to be the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Orioles. I'm seeing Milwaukee is projecting to be one of the highest owned stacks as well. I'm just going to stay away from that, most likely avoid the chalk there. And then, yeah, the Mets, I think, are a more contrarian stack. I think they might be the least owned stack out of the 3 I mentioned. So, yeah, I'll go with that. The 2 chalkier stacks, the Dodgers and the Orioles, and then the Mets as kind of a more contrarian stack where, that's the stack where I think if you want to double spend up a pitcher, it's going to be really hard to unless you find like a min price mini stack because the Mets just have super, super expensive guys. And I think that's going to, suppress their ownership and funnel it more onto the affordable stack like the Dodgers where you can mix in, a lot of those expensive guys like Mookie Betts and then, have a Trace Thompson, a Vargas at third base. So, yeah, those are my top 3 stacks, Mets, Dodgers, and Orioles.
All right, Glock, and just so you know, what the people do, they deliver. They came through with the like. So get ready for that play of the day when we kind of come up here for that. But I'm gonna get out mine. I'm gonna go let's go Dodgers 1. I'm gonna go Baltimore 2 and then Mets 3. Those will be my top 3 stacks that I am looking at here on this slate. We're gonna shift on over to the plays of the day though for the people, and I'm gonna go first because I don't want you stealing mine, Glock. I also feel good about it as well. We're going against Mr. Adam Oller because he's not that good, right?
Hashtag not good.
Yeah, he's hashtag not good. You talked about I'm going to attack. You said I'm going to attack these bad pitchers with these good teams. And like, it sounds weird to say, but Baltimore is a hashtag good team right now. They're surging for the playoffs. I'm going to go with Gunnar Henderson. Let's say Gunnar hits a bomb. He rips it out of the park. I don't know if his helmet falls off again and we get to see that nice piece of lettuce running around the bases with that beautiful hair. But Gunnar Henderson, he has a big game for us. 2.8K, that is just way too cheap in that 5-hole. So that'll be my play of the day. Glock, who do you got?
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I was watching him last night. He's got some swag to him, so I like him a lot. And yeah, I think it's good mojo that we're going to have the plays of the day. If this is our last Saturday MLB show, obviously, we're going to leave on a good note. My play of the day is going to be Trace Thompson, Klay Thompson's brother. I don't know if he's older or younger, but 2.5K in the outfield. He should have been in the lineup last night. Would have made, the mojo for the Dodgers stacks a lot better. But he's going to take Sean Manaea a yard at least once tonight. So Trace Thompson is my play of the day.
All right, the play of the day for Glock, Trace Thompson. Mine is Gunnar Henderson. Listen, if you play those 2, you got all the money in the world to get those pitchers, get whatever you want, get that 5-man stack that you want. You can include them in the 5-man. Maybe do the Dodgers, Orioles 3-man stack, 5-3. With those double spend on pitchers, think you can make a pretty good team overall there. But Glock, that is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the MLB Swing for the Fences show. If this is our last Saturday, it's great to have you. But listen, we'll be here on Sundays. Don't you worry. We'll be here during the weeks. You'll have premium stuff, and you'll have all the NFL stuff. So don't worry. You will check out all of our content.
NBA will be here sooner than you know it as well, and we'll be
on
that grind as well every day.
Yep, NBA will be there. Glock, the people want to know: will you be around on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the premium show? Will that be something you'll be doing again?
Yeah, I got to work out my work schedule a little bit, but definitely I'll be planning to be on some up to locks for sure during NBA for sure. Can't wait to get back to that again.
There we go. Glock has spoken. He will be on those shows. It seems like as long as all the bosses say it's okay, right? As long as we figure it out, make sure it works for Glock's schedule. We'll see what we can do with that. So if you want to check out Glock on shows for that, he'll be there. Are you on any NFL shows, Glock, actually? I don't know if you are.
I don't think so, but I'll be writing some the Gem Finders articles weekly. So I'll be on that, some written content, always providing my cores and whatnot for NFL. So yeah, excited for that for sure.
All right. Well, Bill Miner, we appreciate you as you appreciate us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this show. For me, Mangone and Glock, we will see you guys later.